Well, welcome guys. This is our third, I guess our third grid event now. We do it once a month, so our third time doing it, and we've already grown it to, I think it's 175 members in a little bit under 3 months in total. So it's pretty impressive, and it's a lot thanks to you guys actually come and participate and do these things. I know the weather wasn't that great, so typically this room is a little more packed, so it's a little bit easy for me to speak to. So it's pretty fortunate. And today Veronica is not able to be here because she's doing something else. But we have Bobby who's decided to come and step in the coach.
I'm the Veronica Figueroa for today.
This is Veronica Figueroa.
She's in Puerto Rico, so I'm filling in. Very, very excited to be a part of this. And I'll be honest with you guys, I think that we are coming into what I call investment season. I don't know if you guys have started to feel a little bit of a shift. I was talking to Eric before, and he started telling me about how there's been like crazy price drops. Like
it's like 15% of houses listed in the nation's MLS have done a price drop in the last 7 days.
Right, and you're starting to see some different opportunities come up, and I truly believe that this is kind of the pre-season. This is when you want to really start networking and really start looking at investments, getting prepared, getting your capital put together, getting your partners together, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, building your dream team. And now is the time, because you don't want to do it when it happens. I've actually been through a market shift. So I actually got into the mortgage game back in 2001. That's how I got into real estate. And I can tell you that I was a young buck, and I was just, hey, everything's going to be great the whole time, right? And a lot of guys were telling me, hey, be prepared for what's coming, right? And I wasn't, and I got caught the first time. But I'm gonna tell you right now that you want to be prepared for the market that's coming. I don't think it's going to be like that, but I just think that there's going to be a lot more opportunity.
I mean, the correction is coming. There's no stopping that. I mean, we printed a lot of money, and there's inflation coming, or it's already here. No one's Nostradamus and can predict what's happening in the future, but trends are important to look at. And if you look at what's consistently happening, let's just say in the last 11 weeks specifically, you're seeing more listings on the MLS, you're seeing price drops, you're seeing a lot of different things happening. So these are, key indicators or lag indicators, as you would use in any sort of analytical approach, that are going to tell you what's coming next. Now, how far that lag indicator lasts doesn't really matter. We're going to live in the present and function as it's happening today. And part of this, with grid, a big part of it was taking us away from just sides of the transaction and allowing us to enter, what we've done as real estate agents for so long, and actually enter the space as investors and able to find wealth and build income through different, opportunities that happen in the market. So every shift, listen, every major correction, every major shift is the biggest transfer of wealth in the nation. It happens every single time. COVID was a massive one. When COVID happened, the market completely tanked and then ran for 2 years straight. Everybody who wasn't a scarcity mindset and put their money into the market made an absolute killing. So you want to buy on the way down and sell on the way up. It's pretty simple there. And that's really what we want to do here at Grid is empower agents and people that are not particularly primary investors, get into that space and earn that wealth and not be tied to one side of the transaction or the other. So today we're going to talk about how to build your dream team. We have a great panel here. Obviously, all these people I've seen before, from Noel, Jorge, and Desmond, so we're pretty excited about that. So you're going to hear a lot about their story and what they do. But today we're going to talk about building your dream team in terms of the investment space. So, sorry, let me do this. Intros. My name is Perez. I work for the Figueroa team. I help run operations. I'm very lucky and blessed to get to work with Veronica and a lot of amazing people to build a real estate team. And today is my 2 years with the team, actually officially today. So that's kind of crazy, right? And I've had 17 jobs in 2 years, is what it feels like. So I've worked a ton, and I will continue to do so. It's been a lot of fun. What happened?
17 jobs in 2 years?
Yeah, stuff's got to get done. So you got to do whatever it takes. And Bobby, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Bobby DeVillis. I am one of the leaders of the Alliance Group and the Global Alliance. I've been in the real estate game for about 20 years. Done a little bit of everything from commercial investing to real estate sales, residential investing, and I'm a student of the game, and I'm very excited about agents becoming investors. That's something that we really preach at our office. I got two investors from my office right here in front of me. But, building wealth is what we're all about, and growth is what we're all about. Real estate sales is just one pillar of income. You always got to be looking for other pillars. We're lucky to be a part of an organization that has multiple pillars of income. But I think the investment mindset has to be something that's at the forefront, and it's something that we preach. So like I said, I've done a little bit of everything. I run a real estate team as well. Got over 1,300 agents around the country and in other countries and growing. So super excited to be a part of this. Like I said,
1,300?
Yeah, over 1,300. Yeah. Veronica's my sponsor, so I have a really great upline, and I'm really happy to be part of this family. Every time I come out here to the Lake Nona area, well, number one, this place has a vibe. I like this place a lot.
It's pretty
But the cool thing about what we've got going on is we're family, right? Like, there's people when we all get together, it's like we're in the same mindset. It's about growth. It's about investing. And we want to see people do well, and none of us want to all work forever. So we know that we have to invest our way there.
I don't. 2 years left. 2 years in, 2 years left. I gotta be done.
Build income streams and invest.
So there's a meetup group where you can actually come. A lot of you guys have already signed up for it. If you haven't, it's cool. You can get on the newsletter campaign. We send out emails and more information about this event. So if you want to connect with us, you can do there. We also have a Facebook group page that you can also go and connect with us there, and we're just going to keep it moving. We already did that. That's good. Oh, I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not even a licensed real estate agent. I wasn't supposed to say that, but I'm just going to tell you what it is. So we're here just to share what we've learned and what we've cultivated, collectively, and to build a really ecosystem to where we all know that not every single one of us has all the answers, but one of us does know where to find that answer when a question does arise. So we're not giving you, do your own research. I feel like I say that when I talk about anything, but do your own research, invest your time spent in knowledge before you invest your money. I tell everybody that, like, learn before you actually write that check. So that's a disclaimer that we have to do. That's awesome. And I'm going to define what a dream team is, because I read a lot of books, and one thing, there's a book called The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster. And one thing I always say, there's a chapter, it talks about a good employee or a good team member, right? So defining employee or partner or team member, the definition of partner makes it a little bit different because the lever goes both ways and how you assist in it. So it's important when you talk about a dream team, everybody sits at a round table. No one sits higher than the other. And I think it's really important that you always keep an open mind and you learn. I mean, 20 years in real estate, but he listens to me for some reason.
On some things.
On some things, and then vice versa. So it's very important to have a team, and it's going to mention it later, but always, I mean, the world is of abundance and contribution, so you need to come from that first and foremost to receive it. So I think that's very important.
Yeah, and actually tomorrow, I'm part of a mastermind group that's primarily an investment group, and I'm traveling to San Diego tomorrow, and my mentor always says, fewer better deals with fewer better people. And I think that when you're building a team, the quality of the person is number one, always, right? That they're aligned with you, that they're a good person, and all these different things. Number two is that they bring something, different to the table, right? You want to be around people that bring a different perspective. One of my partners in the Beach Home Investments, Deontay's here, and we sit around the table. It's, we're aligned as far as the people that we are, but he's going to bring me a different perspective. And if you guys have read the book Think and Grow Rich, which if you haven't, please read this book. I've read it like 5 times already, but it talks about the power of the mastermind. And when you actually get together with people who are aligned with you, you actually form a third mind, right? You actually tap into an infinite intelligence. You get different ideas that you would not have gotten if you weren't around a group and a mastermind like we do. And to be quite honest with you, I think that's the power of the Alliance as well. Like, we're talking about investments today in grid, but that's what we do. If somebody came to me and said, why is your real estate group so successful? And it's because we are truly a mastermind. We're sharing ideas. We're opening up our playbook, and we want to see other people grow. So I think that that's the foundation, is the people that you're around, and that they bring something different to the table.
This perspective is very important too, and getting different ones can always change your original thought of something. So it's always good to have more people, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So next, here it is. No one succeeds alone. I can speak to this a lot, and I think that throughout, I would say, throughout the process, especially my 2 years here in real estate, I never realized how important it was to have other people, especially for me, it came from outside industry. I came in with zero, legitimately zero. I didn't even know you guys made that much money selling real estate. I had no idea that people pay you that much to sell real estate. So it's very much applying what you do well, because everybody has a superpower or they have a superpower in something, and applying it to a group, and a group think and a group tank, and being able to, bounce ideas off each other and identify what your strengths are and to pour into that and then pour into them, right? So I always say no one succeeds alone, and I wouldn't be where I'm at. I have a ton of mentors, and if I had to go at anything in my life alone, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And Bobby being one of them. It's just a concept of like, there's so many ways to make money in real estate. Nobody can be a master of all of them. Nobody can be a master of all of them. Even in the investment space, you might do multifamily, single family, Airbnb, shout out to the queens, and whatever the space may be, no one's an expert at all of them. And then you can just be a good listing agent or a good buyer's agent. There's so many things you can be good at, but that's why putting your head together and understanding that you go farther together is very important. And I mean, you can share your experience with that as well.
Yeah.
With EXP, that's probably been huge for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of touched on it before, but just getting back to the point of like finding the crew you're going to be around, researching the things that you want to do, figuring out what you're interested in. I mean, there's people, you're going to hear a panel today that's going to be all different facets of the game. I was talking to Duhamel about his multifamily game. I got the Airbnb queens right in front of me, right? And everybody's got a niche, right? And you have to find your niche, research it, and learn it well. These girls are doing their own seminars now, and that's a lane, but you don't have to be in every lane, right? And that's why you have a team, right? If you want to be a part of an investment team and you say, hey, look, that person focuses on that. If you trust that person, they're going to do the research that it's necessary. If you believe in that person, what they're doing, you want to put your money there, cool. But just focusing on, like you said, don't be a jack of all trades. Find the thing that's for you, research it, and focus on that. Now, I am a big believer that you should research other things. I think some people are like, oh, I'm going to stay in my lane, but things change. And we were talking a lot about the shift. A lot of money is made in shifts, right? Like, I was talking to my financial advisor like a year ago, and I was like, hey man, what do you think about what do you think like the future? I know you're not supposed to tell me what you think is, what are you predicting? He goes, Bobby, I predict volatility. I'm like, well, that's good talk, right? But what he was saying is like, you don't play the game, you don't play it for the short game, you play it for the long game. Stop trying to guess what's going to happen, whatever the case may be. Now, anticipation is important, but you're playing the long game, and volatility is actually how you make money, right? Right? Everybody's like freaking out about the stock market. The stock market is low. Well, what's the main investment principle? You buy low, you sell high. So why are you freaking out? It's time to get in the game when the prices are down. It's not about fear. So that's why you need the kind of people on your team. And I've been a big researcher of not only success, but wealth building. And I put my money in things plenty of times where I didn't know what I was doing or I didn't understand the game. And if I can give you one thing, is study wealth. Like, make this your thing, because I believe that financial freedom is the way for you to get everything that you want. And like literally at some point, it should be almost your full-time job to get free, to buy your life back. And investing is the way that you do that. Having your money work for you is the way you do that, right? You're not going to be able to trade hours for dollars and get free.
I mean, you need to put your money in some sort of vehicle where it can have sustainability for a long period of time. No one gets rich quick. And if they do, it's not sustainable. So that's just a fact. And the next thing is, how do you identify a superstar? It's pretty easy. Be one. Find what you're good at, maximize your own potential in that space, and continue to pour into it. And I always say this with my real estate team. I run a pretty tight accountability for my agents. And it's because I really believe A players want to be around other A players, right? Like, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be the best person. I want something to reach for. So if you really want to find people, like-minded people, you need to attract that by being a master of whatever it is that you do. So I think it's very, very important. And I think like when I go to, let's say, this is relative, EXP masterminds, I go to them, they're all talking the same language, and they're all in different parts of the world, different states, different methods. They all have the same goal because they all have like-minded principles. and they attracted each other to be in that room. So I know you partnered with some of probably the best people in the world at what you do, and you're a superstar yourself. So.
Yeah, thank you. No, I mean, look, I'm a big energy person. I just, you have to have that radar for energy. Is somebody that aligns with you on an energy level. Mindset's big for me. I don't want to be around people who are, negative, complaining, that kind of thing. It's like, dude, if you're going to grow, you got to be around people that think about growth and abundance, right? So, I would say if you want to find superstars, like you said, first be one in the sense of like be a person people want to be around, right? And add energy and add massive value. That's my big thing. I can tell you right now, I told you I'm going to the mastermind group. One of the guys that heads it owns a major company called Sunday. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this company, but that's one of the leaders in my group, the guy that owns that company, and they're in the process of building a multi-level, and I'm helping them with it, right? And I've been on several talks with them. I don't ask for anything. I want to add value because I want to be the first person they think about when they roll things out, right? And so I've always understood that you got to plant seeds, right? And you got to invest. You got to add massive value, and it always comes back to you under the fold.
And you learn more teaching, period. I mean, that Marcus Aurelius said that 2,000 years ago, and that principle still applies. You learn more teaching, so give back, because you'll learn so much more about your process of what you think is right. And when you are teaching people ask questions, it makes you think about your perspective, and you can get a little bit deeper into that subject of what you're doing.
And I'll just add, and then find people with work ethic, right? So I got my partner Deontay here. I always say he's militant, right? Like nobody works harder than Deontay Lawrence, but like that's the kind of people I want to be around. People want to run, right? Like if you're a person who's like really wants to grow, wants to run, I see Jasmine smiling too. She's a hustler, right? I want to be around hustlers, right? Because I'm on a pace, and they have to be on that same pace as you. You're never going to get along with somebody that doesn't understand your pace, right? So that's part of the alignment that you have to have with your superstar team.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one, we're going to give you some potential dream team members that can help you in the investment space. Obviously, real estate attorneys, divorce attorneys, wholesalers, other investors need money, title. So typically, I don't know. I know a lot of people in this room today, but what's on the screen? You guys are laughing at. Nice.
Any wholesalers in the room?
Okay.
Got some wholesalers, realtors. More for everybody. Everybody. I know we got some mortgage brokers in the back. Raise your hand, mortgage brokers, right? But this is the team, guys. You need your lenders, you need your wholesalers. I can tell you right now, it's funny because I started when I started getting back into real estate. I was wholesaling. That's how I got back in after I left the industry. And wholesalers sometimes get a bad name. They're like, oh, wholesalers this and that. Let me tell you, I've done some of my biggest deals with wholesalers. Right? Because the good ones have great investor networks, which is what you're part of here with Grid, right? And when you build good relationships with good people, you're able to do big deals. And so, wholesalers, lenders, your title companies, these are all relationships that you have to be building. And once you find that group, contractors, all that kind of stuff, you're going to have that seamless process. I remember when Julie Mar first came to us, that's what you were doing, right? You were managing flips for other people, right? And through that process, I know you built a ton of relationships. Like, I can go to Julie Mar, like, yo, Julie Mar, you got somebody to do this? She's like, I got somebody, don't worry, right? So that's the kind of relationships that you want to build.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think being curious is important too. Veronica always tells me, ask a lot of questions. Like when someone's an enigma, figure it out, go through them, and you never know, they can help you down the line. And once again, point to them before you ask for anything in return. So that's very important too.
Yeah, use trusted people to refer you to trusted people, right? So I can tell you right now, I just closed on a commercial property, and we were trying to do this kind of like on our own without an attorney, which was dumb. And then I was talking with the agent that was helping us with it, who found the property for us. And he called me up. He's like, hey man, I know you guys are kind of leaning on your partner's wife and all that stuff. He's like, you need a commercial attorney to handle this. And I was like, hey man, can you refer somebody? And the guy he referred to was a star. He just rocked. I'm just like, and every recommendation that comes from this guy is top notch because he's a top notch guy and he does top notch business. So that's important. Like if you don't have all the connections, find the person who's the best, and I guarantee that their connections are the best.
That's a good point. 8 players want to be around 8 players. Right? That's a good point. Potential dream members. So anytime that you do go into a space where you're gonna, use somebody's service, let them know what you do and why you're doing it over and over again, especially if you're a repeat client for whatever business, a GC, a subcontractor. Let them know, hey, we like referrals, right? As an agent, we're supposed to ask for referrals. So continue to do it even in the investor space. You really never know what comes down the pipeline, but you got to be open to those opportunities to get that. 35 people per GC, where'd you get that? Where do you find people reaching? Here. So he already went through it. You're supposed to, this is the slide we're supposed to ask. But it's okay. We did it. Wholesalers, okay, great.
I'm new to the hosting of the group.
Yeah, we go through, but regardless, it's very much about networking. And I mean, especially for a real estate agent, this goes without being said. Put yourself out there, attend a lot of events. And I've seen a lot of your faces at basically every event that I go to. And I don't go to that many, so I'm sure a lot of you guys go to a lot. But it's very important to build through those relationships that you have and continue to do so. I wish there wasn't raining outside because last time we had a lot more people. We had roofers, things like that in there. But if you continue to come to these events, you will find and build those relationships as we grow. We're at 150 now. We have a goal of having 450 members at the end of this year in this group. I don't think this space is going to hold it any longer, but we will be here until we can.
And I'm a big believer as far as networking is concerned. I mean, when people say, well, Bobby, you know all these people. And I was like, it's not that hard to meet people if you're accessible, right? And some people don't know how to be accessible, right? They come to an event, they stand in the corner, they don't talk to anybody, and they're like, oh, I'm not a good networker. I'm like, well, you didn't make yourself accessible, right? Like oftentimes I meet exactly the person that I need to meet because I'm accessible, right? I'm smiling, or I find somebody I know. If I see Christina, I'm like, oh, cool, she's talking to somebody, and I'll talk to them, and I'll insert myself into a conversation. But the main thing is that some people walk around with like a face on that is not accessible, right? Like, and my thing is, it's like, it's not that hard to smile and be friendly, right? And if you do that, people tend to be like, oh, I could talk to her. Like, she's accessible. So I will say, like, when you go to these events, go with an intention to say, hey, look, I don't have to meet everybody, but I'm coming to meet the one or two people that I need to meet. Don't be like arrogant. I don't know what he's doing back here, but make sure you're accessible.
She did that face. Like,
I'm gonna leave this.
No, I'm just saying that's very, very important when you go to these events. So make sure before you leave today that you shake a few hands and make some friends for sure.
Meet somebody. Everybody should meet 3 new people today. If there's not new people, go next door to the bodega. There's somebody in there. How to stay in touch. It's very simple, rudimentary. Make your calls. Go out there, keep your contacts in place, be consistent with it, and do it each and every day. And continue to do so by inviting to a spot, lunch, coffee, whatever the place may be. Just be personable, and once again, do it without the concept of anything in return. Just do it for the fact that you're going to do it and maintain good relationships. And especially like on syndication of deals. I mean, Demal taught me that, like, when the numbers get big and you're buying $8, $9, $10 million properties, there's very little chance you're doing it solely on your own. You either have some massive funding behind you, which is not on your own. So anybody who has access to a lot of money, and we think that they're not on their own, by the way. I've learned that the hard way. Like, man, this guy bought $10 million property. Turns out he's like got some guy Goldman Sachs. But regardless of that, in the investing space, there's a lot of, the pie can be sliced a lot of different ways. And I'm learning that as I go on, right? But the concept is like, the more minds, the more people, the more resources you have in place, the bigger the project you can go after, the bigger the return will be, and the more consistently you can do so. So it is very important to make sure you stay in touch and keep those people close.
And I believe that meeting face to face is super powerful. You don't have to meet with everybody, but if you find somebody who you're like, man, this girl's a real player. Invite them to that lunch, invite them to that coffee. And I don't ever come in there with an agenda. I come in there to get their story. I need to get to know who I'm talking about, and because when you get right to business, sometimes people are like, man, that's not the kind of relationship that I really want to build. And plus I want to get to know what's important to them and who they are. I mean, this is whether you're selling real estate or meeting investment partners or dream team partners, is find a time to meet the fewer betters face to face and connect with them, ask them, how did you get into investing? What are they passionate about? And once you find that out, you're able to build a stronger relationship with them, and they're more likely to trust you and do business with you. And then as far as, and then following up, like a lot of the opportunities that I have, I don't hound big, first of all, big players get hounded all the time. So let me just give you some instruction about big players. Big players have always got somebody who's going to try to, meet with them or whatever. They don't have the time, right? But what I do is if I meet somebody who's like a player and I'm like, man, I really want to get to know this person, I'll get their contact information and I'll figure out how they want to be contacted. You know, don't just be like blowing somebody up or whatever, because they're gonna blow you off, right? And then what happens is I don't press them, but I'll follow up with them. Like when I was talking about the guy with Sunday and stuff like that, we talked at the last event. He told me some really important stuff. So what I did, I was like, I actually came back to him and said, hey man, I'm really interested in what you got going on. He's like, okay, I'll get with you. But a few months passed, 3 months passed, and I don't know if you guys ever use BombBomb.
Yeah.
Okay, so BombBomb is like, you know, video text, video emails, and you know what I'll do is like 3 months later, 4 months later, I haven't heard from them. I'll shoot them a quick BombBomb, and I'll just say, hey, I was just thinking about you, by the way. You know, if you need anything here on it or whatever, but I still want to connect with you about that opportunity whenever you get a chance. Looking forward to seeing you next time, something like that. And they always appreciate that, but I don't press them like that because the big players don't want to be hounded all the time.
Yeah, you gotta leave the door open, but you can't push someone through it. That's what I always say. You know, I always tell my agents that too. They're like, oh, they didn't respond. Send them another email. You know, follow up in a week. And this is what it's talking about. Like, this is more from a consumer perspective, but the fundamentals are the same. You have to have a multi-channel marketing effort. You can't just do phone calls. You can't just do text. You can't just do email. You have to try from a broad spectrum approach, because one of those attempts will get through, and maybe that's the one they see. Maybe that's the one they need. So at the end of the day, try everything. You know, try every channel available to you, and consistently do so. And I'm gonna go because the next one's about CRM. So I'm gonna talk about that. All right. So how do you currently manage your database? You would be so surprised when I meet with a team leader or anybody that in real estate. I'm like, hey, how do you manage your database? And they show me this thing. And this right here is a cell phone, right? And they're just writing notes and texting out of it. And there's no level of consistency, or there's no real like preference analytics to go deep in. And as you scale, which like the only thing I really care about in any type of business is the ability to scale. If I can't scale it, I don't want to be involved in it, right? And you have to scale through some sort of central conceptual information hub, or also known as a database in for layman's terms. But you need to start organizing yourself when it comes to your consumers, your partners, your relationships, whatever the case may be. You need to centralize it and have a hub where everything goes to. None of us are Rain Man. You're not going to remember everything or do everything right. So typically, you know, I always give the advice to individuals from real estate and investors. You can't look at what you've done. You need to look at what you left on the table. And if you were able to use a database consistently, you're going to find it in the analytics. So if you're not storing the data, that's step number one. If the integrity is bad, meaning you don't update your stuff, that's step number two. And then if you're not consistently able to multi-channel market it, that's step number three. It doesn't matter if you have the longest list of names if you don't know how to go at it and play offense to it. So it all comes down to the tools you're going to be able to use. There's some basic ones here, Copper, Zoho. I'm not a huge fan of either of them, but they do very much work because they do have a pretty good Gmail add-on. So you're able to, you know, send emails through your own personal email address. And then you can move up from follow-up all the way up to Salesforce. There's so many different types of CRM products out there. Even if you start with a Google Sheet, or whatever the case may be. There's so many ones out there, but don't be the guy that because the individual that thinks they got money in the bank, they're functioning at a high level if you don't know how to manage your customer relations, which is what a CRM is. So really think about that and take it seriously, because especially when you want to scale, you're going to have to give people access to your own data. You can't just hand them your cell phone. It's my biggest pet peeve when individuals goes, I got everything in my cell phone, but I want to grow a team of anything. Well, you can't, because you're not centralized. You know, you're completely decentralized to yourself. So you cannot do that. So I'm a big proponent of how to do that. Have any advice for that?
You're the CRM guy.
All right. And this is another one. Create a plan to stay in touch with emails and things like that. I'm a huge proponent of MailChimp. If you haven't heard of MailChimp, like write it down and use it. It has a feature called Journeys now. They're literally, you can pre-build all your emails. You can do up to 1,000 pre-built emails and templates, and you can put time delays in them. You can put if and or functions. You get very complex and intricate with it, but the whole idea is that you got to also try to remove the manual approach to what you're doing, which is why you want to use these tools in your game, right? You need to start implementing these tools. And it's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of you guys that are not used to that, but you're going to have to grow in that space in order to do that effectively. I mean, I know like our real estate team, we're sending out like 850 to 1,000 emails every 3 days is our new average. It's literally ridiculous. It's getting a lot, but it comes through having them be able to having the ability to do it without the manual process, so you can actually scale the process, right? I don't want to hire 50 people on a marketing team to send out emails because my database is now 100,000 people. Like, it's not a cost effective. There's no profit margins in there. You're going to lose before you gain. So the idea there is to make sure you are using tools that are in front of you. And I'll say one last thing to that. SMS, I'll just tell you this. So the Department of Justice changed their process on blacklisting numbers. So a lot of you in this room probably are getting more calls from what is scam likely more than ever in the last 6 months. Everybody here is seeing more scam likelies. You want to know why? They decentralized the blacklist. Before, the DOJ had requirements on what needs to happen before they go on the blacklist, and they would have a database that all cell phone providers would hit and ping prior to allowing the call to come through. The DOJ said, hey, we're not going to manage that anymore. Each cell phone provider can do it themselves. So T-Mobile, Verizon, Sprint, whatever the case may be, they can blacklist your number in 35 seconds just because they think they can. They don't need to go through the red tape of the Department of Justice anymore. So what does that mean? Your number, more than likely, if you're pounding the database, is coming up as scam likely if you're being too aggressive with it from the start. And I'm not telling you don't call, I'm telling you to text first. That's what I'm telling you. Because that, and also, maybe not me, but most text messages are read within 18 minutes of them being received. I don't ever check my text, so it's terrible to get to me. But and if I do, I'll read it like, oh, interesting, and move on. But it's the fact that most texts are read within 18 minutes and received within the hours at 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So obviously, text someone at 2 a.m. will probably not going to read it for sleeping. But the concept is there. And if you text someone and you get a receipt back, there's a 40% chance your number will no longer be classified as scam likely to that cell phone provider because they engage in the conversation with you. So I just want to give you that.
That's my level tech stuff right there.
Yes.
Yeah, and I will say, he's the master of systems, obviously, and I'm more of a people person. So just make sure that you don't fully rely on just those systems, right? It's part of
in addition to making that phone call, having that meeting, and to be quite honest with you, events. That's the power of events. I mean, if I've learned anything with this EXP model is how important events are. We're at one right now, right? And it's always something going on. And so, like, if you're trying to build a network, if you're trying to build an investment, group or club, you're going to start at some point. You got to be thinking about hosting your own events, and they can start very small. They don't have to be like this. It could just simply be like a high-level dinner or a small event where you're just kind of creating your mastermind organically. So don't forget about that when it comes to building your database. But even so, if you do put on this event, and obviously I've curated all your information, so I have all your information of all of you, for most of you now. I'm going to email the hell out of you, and I'm going to text the hell out of you, and I'm going to give invites because that's just the concept too. You need to be consistent with that. So use the tools in front of you. Obviously, events are good, but it's your ability to get people in that room, and you have to use all channels to do so. But that's a little bit like we're going a little off. That's fine. Yeah, dream team affiliate relationships. Use them. I'm a real estate team. Everybody here has lenders paying for their leads or whatever the case may be. Use your affiliates. Co-market your brand, get involved with other people because it will expand your network outside of your own and also leveraging theirs at the same time. So that's very important. I mean, you could probably speak to that better than I can, but get to the panel. All right, good. All right, we're going to get to the panel. Oh, I do want to talk about scaling an investment team and what we've done. And if you want this in detail and even the compensation models for each of these people, and you're actually interested in scaling, we'll break it down for you. So obviously, you're gonna have a rainmaker, a leader, a head of acquisition, and other than you're gonna have an acquisitions manager, and that's gonna be the person that helps acquire properties that come up into play, right? Actually, let me start on the right-hand side. Lead generators, very, very important. There will be no property acquired if you can't curate the lead. So this can come in all shapes and forms. Fortunately, on the Figueroa team, we have like specialized listing agents that are dialing because we're able to then filter the opportunity and determine whether it can be a wholesale deal, whether we can take it down ourselves. or we just take it to the retail market. So you have to be able to generate that lead. The second part of that is have an acquisitions manager. Once that's done, someone needs to understand if it can be acquired or not, right? So once the lead is curated and the appointment set up, there has to be someone that can weigh the options of what can happen with that consumer, right? Once the property is acquired, and you want to dispo it, whether it's a wholesale, whether you are going to do the rental yourself, whatever the case may be, a disposition manager is very important as well. That's the person who's going to market it to your investors if it's a wholesale, to the general public if it's a retail deal that you did. So it's very important to define these positions because a lot of people in the investment space are doing all of them on their own, and that's really hard to scale. You need to break it down and have subject matter experts in order to scale. So this is kind of how we run it now. And I could do a whole presentation on this by itself, but you got to generate the lead, you got to acquire the opportunity, and then you got to get it out as fast as possible. So those are the three main mechanisms that we built departments around that. So that's it. Any questions? Good.
Oh, yeah.
Almost made it out
When will
loud.
you do that training on that?
I don't know. I didn't do it. Just put that slide there today. So I mean, we can talk about that in the future. But you know what? You can contact me directly, eric@figueroa.com.
You messed up by saying that because Jasmine is going to call you on it.
I will.
Call me. Call me as much as you want. So you can, eric@figueroa.com. You can give me your information if you want to learn more about this and how we structure it. More than likely, I'm more than happy to share the information with you guys.
Thank you.
Of course. So let's actually bring up the panel.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let me go all the way back to the panel thing. Boom. All right, Desmond, Bobby here, Jorge and Noel, please come up, guys.
Come on up, give them a hand. Bring up the heavy hitters.
Bobby, where?
All right. Yeah. So these guys killed it, man. I don't know. That's drinking through a fire hose. That was a lot of info. I got a fan. Yeah. Appreciate you. $20 to give me. Yeah. It's working out, man. It's paying off. See, that's all about return on investment. All right. So let's start with the stories, right? So let's go down the line. Start with Jorge. Kind of tell us, how you got in the investing game and what you specialize in.
I got in the investment game about 11 years ago when it wasn't mainstream, it wasn't sexy. I started, I'm coming from a real estate background and mortgage. We had mortgage lending. And back then, I always looked at investments as something I wanted to do. I want to flip houses. It was like something that catch my eye. And after going through the last market crash, and it shook us up, I told my wife, sitting here, says, I want to invest in real estate. And she kind of went and laughed a little bit and says, what are you talking about? We don't have the kind of cash for that right now. Started knocking on doors until I found a partner. And that was the beginning of it.
So you just went neighborhood by neighborhood to see if somebody wanted to be a partner?
I'm big, everybody that knows us here, I know I'm big on relationships, right? That's our number one thing. And relationship for us is the base for everything we built. And I just started knocking on the doors of those relationships until I found one and said, look, I know how to get them. I know how to fix them. I know how to just, do the disposition on them. Would you partner with me on it?
So you were looking for the money?
I was looking for the money.
Right.
Absolutely. Found somebody. Took me about a month and a half. I said, well, you have all the financial responsibility. I'll do the part. We split it 50-50. And at that time, when I remember the first deal I always found, it was in Bubbling by Bowling Fork. And once I went to him, he says, well, we're going to change the term. It's 60-40 now because I have all the financial responsibility. I fired him on the spot, cried all the way home. It took me about 3 months to find my next partner.
So he tried to change the deal on you?
Yes, correct.
Okay, gotcha.
People ask, why didn't you go through it with it? Because, it's still 40%. You don't have anything right now. But to me, that was a character issue.
Okay.
And I was going to have more problems down the road. So we made the decision. It took me 3 months to find my next partner. Then we did that deal. We did 4 deals that year. I made him 90,000, we make 90, and from that, then we evolve on our own.
Right.
However, we're talking about relationship and finding your network here. We went on our own to do our own deals, but we still did deals with them.
Okay. So, one thing that stands out is like a lot of times when you guys are trying to get an investment game, you think you have to do it all on your own, right? And sometimes just having a small part of a deal and getting started is so important. So you want 100% of nothing, or you want a percentage of something, right? And then the other part is it's probably a lot easier to find his next capital investor, wasn't it? Because he now had a track record, right? So that's one of the things. If I'm going to give you my money, what have you done? Right? And because you started with a partner, he was splitting it 50-50, who cares? He had the track record now, and I'm sure it was a lot easier the second time to say, hey, look what I've done in the past, couple of years. I have proof, yeah, it works. I have proof it works. Well, you want to invest with me now because I made this guy X amount. You want that? You want it? And I'm sure it was a lot easier. It's like, awesome. Fantastic. Your turn.
Hey, everybody. My name is Desmond. Most of you people may know me for being a wholesaler. We've actually expanded to a few more avenues, a few more options now. A little bit of my backstory. So I actually started off in real estate 6 years. Oh, no, maybe it's been 7. It's been 7. It's probably been 7. 7 years ago, started off in real estate. Really wanted to get into investing, started investing. I just started off as a traditional agent. Actually, this gentleman to my right was my first real estate coach when I first came into real estate. And like I said, we've talked about this before. This gentleman was also the first gentleman who ever put something in my mind called wholesaling. And the whole concept of it, I really wanted to get into investing, really wanted to do investing, except I had no money. I unfortunately went broke, actually ended up homeless and in a lot of different rough situations. To fast forward to 3 years ago, I decided to start an investment business. And it's been amazing ever since. Our first year in business, we did.
Hold on. You said you went from homeless to starting an investment business? I feel like there's a part you might skip in there. Like, I want to know how it transitions. Tell me about the fight back, because I think people need to hear things like that to understand it's not easy and that it can be done.
You picked up the phone.
Yeah, seriously. So I was obsessed with learning. But here's one thing that I got stuck in analysis paralysis, where I was stuck on trying to learn and actually scared to pick up the phone. Funny story, actually, our first coaching session together, one of the things that he wanted me to do was to pick up the phone and start calling people. And I sat there for an hour and faked phone calls. I faked conversations for an hour in front of him. Because I was stuck in analysis paralysis all the way to the point to where I ended up losing my car. I ended up getting evicted out of my apartment, to where I really had nothing. I was kind of couch surfing, trying to figure out where to go and what to do. So like I said, 3 years ago, I really kind of buckled down. And
what changed? Like, what went from this fear of making was it just, I'm homeless now, I got to figure it
out? So it was actually, I think everybody has one of those rock bottom moments. Everybody has one of those moments that you just kind of break and you realize, you know what, I can't stand for this anymore. Actually, my rock bottom moment came, I have 2 children. And at the time, my kids were 2 and 1, and we were staying on somebody else's couch. And I promised my kids, and I thought they were asleep at the time, but I promised my children that I'm going to one day be able to give them a room and everything. And I was promising this to them, but in my mind, they were asleep. And actually, my 2-year-old at the time popped his head up, wasn't asleep, and he said, "Don't worry, Dad, I know you will. We love you."
Wow.
So at that point, I couldn't let anybody down now. At that point, there was no turning back, because I had to figure it out now. Now my son heard me make that promise. And I'm sure there's a lot of parents in here. And you understand, when you promise something to your kids, hell or high water, you're going to make that happen. And so, like I said,
that's huge. That's the moment I was looking for, right there.
All right,
so now you started the investment business.
Started our investment business 3 years ago. Like I said, our first year we did really well, around $400,000. Second year is $700,000. To last year, we crossed over right around $1.2 million from our investment business.
That's right. And this is flips.
So we do wholesale. We're primarily known for wholesaling, and that's still the majority of our business. We do flips as well. We're actually, funny enough, I actually spoke at an event with Maeva, and she was talking about Airbnbs. Funny enough, I'm actually under contract right now for an Airbnb on Ormond Beach. So we're kind of branching out to multiple different things. But we have like a small portfolio, Airbnb, flips, and wholesales primarily.
Okay, awesome.
How do you follow that up?
I don't know. I mean, you better have told your kid while you were sleeping.
I was born into money and got really lucky.
That's how you follow it.
I've been in real estate investing 15 years. I started with fixing and flipping. I have electrical engineering background, so I did the school route, but school wasn't for me. I finished it. Engineering wasn't for me, but I was there 18 years. I had that itch about I needed time freedom. I wanted financial freedom. I wanted lifestyle freedom. So I got into fixing and flipping. I was just telling my first flip story to my man here, Pierre. You never know where your investor is going to come from unless you're knocking on that door until you're looking for them. I grew up kind of in a rough area, and so I didn't come into money. But I used to work out a lot. I know you can't tell right now. There's muscles under this. Thank you, yeah, in my neck. But I was at the gym. I used to work out a lot. So you had your crew, and I used to always just talk to them about real estate. Hey man, like we need to be flipping. We need to be flipping. We need to find financial freedom. We need to be flipping. And finally, one of my boys got tired of hearing me, just constantly nag him in the ear. And he said, "Screw it, man. If you find a deal, we'll do it." And sure enough, that's exactly what I did. I got educated, learned what wholesaling was, met wholesalers, found a deal, put a pro forma together, which is basically what is the purchase price, what is the repair value, what's the repair cost, repair value, and presented that to my friend, and he said yes. And it's kind of like that Jared the ring, he said yes. And so that was our first deal. He put all the capital. I didn't put any capital, I put sweat equity. But that first deal 15 years ago turned into 20 flips that we've done. I then got completely burned out of flips. So for me, working a W-2 and doing flips was not a good mix. I did that, like I said, for 15 years or so, completely burned out. And I had a couple of rock bottom moments. I'll be honest with you, I don't wish rock bottom on anybody. I think sometimes some of us need them.
Yeah, some of us need them. I mean, kudos to those who didn't need it and just you were able to springboard up. I need to hit rock bottom to go up.
Learn from us. Don't hit rock bottom.
All amazing stories. So, let's first talk about, somebody's in this room and thinking, okay, I haven't kind of started my investment game. What would be like the one nugget you would tell them to, kind of either move them on the fence or get them started, or maybe just the most important thing that you think from your experience that they need to know?
Let me take this first.
Sure, absolutely.
Because I believe in your network is your net worth. So you need to change your friends. You need to change who's around you, who you associate with, who's in the gym with you, who you're drinking at the bar with, who you're rocking with. You need to start looking around you, make a really, really honest assessment and say, are these people going to take me to where I want to go? And then I think that's where you start. That's where I would start.
Yeah, 100%. And I tell people all the time, and if you don't know where those people are, you join groups. Like you're part of this right now. This is where you find high level people, right? I paid to be part of that group that I'm going to tomorrow. I knew that I had hit a stagnated level of the people I was around. And I knew I was like, I'm going to have to pay to get in a different level. And that's okay. It's worth the investment. Trust and believe. That's good. You are who you surround yourself with.
I believe that first, you got to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? Because here, you're going to hear from different people who have different types of operation. Big operations, amazing, multi-family. What do you want to do? Do you want to flip? Do you want to wholesale? You might not understand enough. Do you want to Airbnb? Got the Airbnb queens here. And, what do you want to do? What do you want to specialize in? That's the first step. And then go find out, what do you need to do in order to get that done? You have now the ability to come to any of us in this panel, in this room, and learn from what we learned. When we're talking 10 years ago, the information was not available. Now it's out there, it's going mainstream. And you have people in the network. That's what Grid is for you to tap into. But the first thing is to find out what do you want, because that's going to determine the leverage that you need to get, how much, what type of life do you want to live? So that would be for me the first.
100%, right? You know, sometimes you get into something, you're like, oh man, this is not what, like, he was doing W-2 and the flips and realized this ain't my game. You know, he was making money, but he wasn't happy, right? So you have to figure out what your lane is, absolutely.
Otherwise, you end up building something that you're gonna have to regress and say, this is not where I wanted to be.
Right.
And you might be making a lot of money, but you don't have fulfillment. So you have to backtrack and then find that.
But there's always the element of, but if you're doing the paralysis by analysis, you gotta get started somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And even if you
Yeah.
screw something up, you can always change it. But if your problem is paralysis by analysis, you gotta start somewhere, right? You can't overanalyze it either. So what would be the one thing, Desmond?
Swing your bat.
Okay.
Actually get up to the plate and swing your bat. Make your offers. See, I studied for 2 years before I ever made my first offer. I would have been so much farther ahead. I've only been wholesaling in our wholesaling business I just finished year 3. I'm literally in year 4 right now, but I've been studying it for years before that. Swing your bat. Make your offers. I promise you, you can call any one of us up here and there's probably 10 more people in the room you can call. If you get a property under contract that's an investment deal, I promise you somebody will come with the money. Somebody will make that deal happen for you and you will learn by doing it. One of the biggest things that you can do to provide value to somebody who you do want to partner with is come with the property, come with the deal, and the money will come. Just, you have to swing your bat. You have to make your offers. And if you're not uncomfortable about your offer, you're probably offering too much. Your offer should make you uncomfortable. That was one of the biggest piece of advice my coach gave me at the time when this coach said that if you don't feel like, oh, am I really going to present this offer, you're probably paying a little bit too much for that house.
I like it.
I do want to, like, that's huge. So success, there's a line, right? There's a border. Success is on the other side of that line. That line is taking action.
Yeah, swing your
99%
bat.
of us don't take action. We sit on analysis by paralysis.
I was guilty
That's
of it.
huge.
Swing your bat. Make an offer. You all know how to write contracts. Make an offer. That's an investment offer. I promise you the money will come.
Absolutely. And something Des said is like, you know, I was surprised when I first got like into real estate, how many people actually have a lot of money. The problem isn't the money, right? The money's out there. It's actually waiting to get into a deal. The tough part is getting the deal. So if you're out there and you're like, how do I get started? Find a deal, right? Because the money will come. It's so hard to find a great deal. Now, I think that when we're talking about the market shift, I don't think that asset is going to drop out of the market. What I think is going to happen is we're going to get a lot more opportunities and deals, and you want to be on the forefront of that. So here's one of my favorite questions, right? Because when I coach agents about working with investors, I was like, man, always ask them this question, because they're always going to be passionate about it. You're going to learn a ton about them, and you're going to learn a ton about how they invest. And it's, what's your best investment? Tell me the story about the best investment you ever done. The one that you like, wow, like if I could get that one investment every time, it'd be over with.
You want me to go? All right. So Tom here. So if for you guys that don't know, Tom
Tom is your best investment.
Tom used to work acquisitions on our team. So me and Tom used to work together for years. And still to this day, Tom holds the largest record for acquisition of a deal. It was actually 10 different lots that we worked on with the county, subdivided, working it all out to be ready to be built on. We did not actually build it. We actually ended up selling it to a developer to build that. And we ended up making $165,000 in about 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, well, is right.
That's the power of finding a deal, right?
All you gotta do is find the deal.
And I'm a big believer, like my investment strategy has always been very simple, buying the path of growth, right? I buy on the edge of growth, right? What's next? When you start, you guys are in real estate, you guys are traveling all around Central Florida, right? And you're looking at what's next. I was just at a development yesterday called Sunbridge. You guys been out to Sunbridge? It's gonna be Lake Nona Part 2, right? And I'm like, holy, like I was like, how far is this place, right? Like it's like 35 minutes from downtown. I drive out there and I start hearing this. I'm like, oh, this place is next. Like, I mean, it's still like the secret's out, but it's not out. Like you got to know when you're getting in early. That's a 20-year plan. Tavistock is doing this. Lake Nona Part 2. It's going to be 3 times the size of Lake Nona. It's a 20-year development opportunity and just starting to release the properties and lots. Do you want to be early in the game or you want to be the last person? Yes, you can buy Lake Nona now, but that secret's been out, right? So you find on the edge of growth. Here's where all the growth is. we just sold a property in Paramore, right? If you look at downtown Orlando, there's only certain places downtown can grow to. There's not that much real estate. You don't have to be a genius. You can say, okay, where can it grow? It's either gonna go south downtown or it's gonna go on the west side to Paramore, right? So we bought a property 6 years ago in Paramore and we waited for the stadium to be built. We waited for Creative Village to be built. And then we flipped that property, right? So it's just very simple strategy. And when you guys are out there and you see this, you're like, oh my gosh, like this place is starting to get crowded. It's just, the edge is starting to move out by there, right? And then it'll catch up to you. So that's a great story, man. That's
For
the
me, I have two, and not for the amount of value, they're not the one that has netted the most, I'm sorry. But more significant, that first property that I finally got, and it's because we got it done, for a great profit, seeing it in the market, seeing it go on the contract, and getting that first check. I still remember that like if it was today.
Wow.
It's so significant because after all these years of not taking action or trying or desire, you talk about think and grow rich, that burning desire that I had to be in investments, it was a special moment. And the next one, Tom, I'm gonna have to pick on you again because we like relationship and empowering people.
We need to get to know Tom better.
Yeah, right?
Tom had to be
Yeah, Tom.
I don't know if you guys pick it up on that. Tom had to be up.
The reason is because he found a property for himself. We were able to facilitate that financing, too.
Yeah, I was actually a lender on that deal. I was a hard money lender on that deal.
Facilitated that financing, and that became, a very significant thing in his life, right? Correct? So in that, it's fulfillment for us.
Yes.
And what I heard was like that first deal in particular is what gave you that confidence. And that's why that was such a powerful deal, because everything's a concept until you get something done. And then you get it done and you're like, oh shit, it's possible, right? And once you know it's possible, then it's game on, right? So that's an awesome story. What about you, man?
I think I'm a multifamily syndicator. I create funds buy apartment complexes. Right now, talking about getting in early on markets, don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to look at markets that maybe aren't super sexy on paper, and you might get early onto deals. We have a deal right now in a city called Lake City. I'd never heard of this city. Whoa, somebody's heard of it.
Somebody knows Lake City.
Heads up.
Let's go Lake City. Lake City, stand up.
One person.
Yeah, just one person.
So it's a 100-unit deal. We got it for 4.3 million. And we owned it 18 months. We have it under contract now to sell for 7.5 million. We're going to more than double all of our investors' capital, and it's an amazing home run. It's one of those unicorns that is going to change people's lives. And we have some in the syndication world. You don't have to put up your own capital. I have some partners that helped us on the deal. And they're going to get life-changing money in return for sweat equity. So
explain to the folks that might not know about what syndication is and how it works.
Sure. So syndication, by definition, is pooling of investor capital from investors or your passive investors. Let's say you needed $1 million to close a deal. You go reach out to $10,000, $100,000 investors. They put this money into an LLC. And they're now your passive investors. They're investing in you, who is the general manager of the deal, put the deal together, put the business plan together, and they're expecting you to do some work and give them a return on their investment. And basically that pool buys an apartment building, a commercial building, a building just like this. That's how syndications is how the world goes around. You know that private equity is how the world, look what we're talking about here. That W-2s isn't what makes the world go around. Those are good workers, good worker bees, but in reality, private equity is how the United States was built and how we continue to build and move this country forward. But that's basically what we do in a nutshell.
Awesome. So here's another question, because every major investor that or met that's actually done really well always says it's not about the deals you said yes to, it's about the deals you said no to, right? Because you have to stand on a certain principles, right? Because if you go willy-nilly putting your money everywhere, you're gonna be in a world of trouble, right? So I'm curious, if you guys have anything on the top of your head, a deal that, and sometimes it's a shiny deal, right? But it's outside of your principles, and it's okay. Sometimes those things don't work. I'll give you an example. The guy that helped us buy the Paramount property, probably worth 40 to 60 million, right? And he took his money out of private lending because he was like, look, I think the market's gonna shift. And I just don't feel comfortable, right? This was pre-pandemic. Okay. And he told me, he's like, obviously I missed out on an incredible run, right? But here's the deal. Did he make a mistake? Because he followed his principles. He was looking at the market and says, I'm not comfortable with the way this market, it goes against what I've seen markets do. And not one of us could have predicted what was exactly going to happen during a pandemic. I've never been through a pandemic before. I'm sure you haven't, right? So you can't look at that and say he made a mistake. I think he did exactly what was right based on his principles. And if he sticks to that, because here's what's going to happen. If he says, oh, I'm not going to do that again, next time I'm going to go against my principles, that's when he's going to get wiped out, right? Because he didn't actually know what was going to happen there. So, I'm sorry, I see you nodding your head, Jorge. So I want to hear from you, bro.
I'm just thinking of, recently, I have, right here, this next generation of investors right here on this table. The oldest one is probably 19.
Is this a club? Is this like a young man's investing club?
Yeah,
I wouldn't call it investing.
But I got this kid right here bringing me deals now and saying, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, right? And some of the deals are not, you established some parameters. Now, the parameters are going to be different for everybody because his parameters are going to be different depending on the type of operation. He needs certain meat in the bone, like you guys like to call it, right? For somebody that's operating single, he can take less meat in that bone. However, you need to have them set. But when you're newer, you want to try to make those deals happen. But as long as you stick to that, then yes. So recently we have to say no. But what I like is if the person, you have to look for ways to make that happen. Don't just discard a deal because they don't, maybe there's an alternative way to make it happen. Explore them all. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, yeah, you're going to have to let it go.
What didn't you like about the deal?
A couple of things. There was kind of a broker involved in the deal, correct? That was not enough profit for the exit strategy that he wanted.
Okay.
So if you're gonna flip it, you need a certain amount of money in there. If you're gonna keep it, if you're gonna bear it, then perhaps you can do the deal. If it's a buy and hold, you can do it. But in this case, it needed to be flipped, certain things needed to be done. There was not enough. On top of that, there was a broker involved. And what was the other negative? And they have a lease in place. So now you have three things going against that deal and you have to let it go. But I like that he stayed away until like 1 o'clock looking for alternatives.
Right.
But sometimes you get too eager. Yes, you're right. That thing can go south easily.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How about you? A deal you said, you're like, hey, this could be big, but it's like, you just had to say no to this one because it just went against your principles.
Sure. So I'm going to share a theme as well, if you couldn't hear the theme about working with other people. So there's another gentleman that's from, his name is Brennan Reed back here. He's sitting down all the way in the back. And actually Tom again. And us three were actually working on a 30-unit apartment complex in Newport Richey. And we were looking to buy this, take this down. And we actually had given offers and the seller had been kind of jerking our chain a little bit and kind of shopped our offers and everything to the point to where he had tried to bid us up. And I believe it was like $200,000 or $300,000 above our actual like max offer. And we kept on kind of like wrestling back and forth with it, kept on wrestling back and forth. Do we take it? Do we not? What do we do? And ultimately we decided to kind of tell the seller like, hey, if you have that offer, take it. And now this was actually fairly recently, so I don't believe it's actually closed in new ownership or anything else. It's something that we all are, I'm sure, keeping an eye on. But I just reran the numbers again and again and again in my head and on paper and everything. And there was no way that I could think that deal really made sense. And as much as it sucked, because it was exciting at the time, because we're like, yeah, we're gonna buy apartment complex. We're gonna be apartment complex owners. We had negotiated seller financing on the apartment complex, fantastic terms and everything else. It wasn't the terms that was the issue, it was the price that this guy wanted. And again, penciling it again and again and again, it just didn't turn a profit. And one of my hard, fast rules is if it doesn't cash flow, well, not even cash flow, because some people buy for equity, some people buy for appreciation. I am not that guy. Like, it needs to make greenbacks as soon as we close. And if it don't make greenbacks when we close, we can't close. So that's what it came down to. And we kind of walked away
So
from it.
you're saying that this month, it wasn't based on what you were paying for the property, the income that was coming in, it wasn't gonna be able to really cover. You weren't making really a return.
No, at least up front. Now, there was a lot of value add to it. Rents
Okay.
were way below value.
Okay.
And maybe in a few years it could have turned a profit, but I wasn't prepared to go, 2-3 years in the negative in order for me to turn a profit, especially in this market where God knows what's gonna happen.
So to clarify, the way the property stood at the moment, the income that it was producing, it wasn't worth it. Now, you could have bought the property, fixed the property up, charged higher rents over time, but he wasn't interested in doing that. That's too much of a risk for him. He'd rather buy it and immediately be cash flowing. Is that correct?
Greenbacks.
Greenbacks. You guys write it down. Greenbacks.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you? What's something you like? There's that one. I know you've been thinking about it. Which deal?
Yeah, well, like my man over here, Mr. Figueroa, has cash flow, right? Cash flow is king. I have a ton, but I have an interesting story. Anybody from New Smyrna Beach? We have Lake City. Anybody from New Smyrna?
Anybody?
No luck in this,
Yeah,
brother. Just
But,
like City.
Yeah, just like City, that's good. But a 7-unit in New Smyrna 2 years ago, a buddy of mine brought it to me. He wanted a partner, and I believe in rules. So, and by rules, I mean certain numbers. So if you have return metrics, I want X amount of X% cash flow annually, or I want this return. I believe in like Eric, a lot of metrics and numbers. So I have these certain rules, and this particular deal didn't pan out. It didn't work out for me. He did the deal anyways. Fast forward to like yesterday, and it's blowing me up. It's been blowing me up for a few months, trying to get me to buy it or buy into it. I'm getting ready to put that under contract. I'm basically going to buy out the LLC, and I'm going to get this thing at a ridiculous, like basically half price. So now it pencils, but it was a deal that I said no to, and 2 years later, it comes back full circle. Obviously off market, because it's just somebody I know, but it's an opportunity to get it. Now I'm getting a steal.
Yeah, and I love the investment side of it is kind of cool because you don't have to do it, right? If somebody's looking for their home, their primary residence, it's a different kind of emotional transaction. So you got to be good at saying no. Like, hey, if it doesn't work, be ready to walk away. And oftentimes I've heard that kind of story where the deal will come back. Like if it's meant for you, it'll come back and you'll get it at the price that you want it or the terms that you want it. The same investor, the guy that helped us buy the Paramount property, he was telling us a story the other day about how, he wanted to buy this land in Winter Springs, had a couple houses on it. It was like three or 5 acres, whatever. He wanted to build his mom a house on it. So he went up to the people and he was like, hey man, I'll give you, $430,000 cash. I'll close in a week. I'll take this property off your hands. And, they started, kind of like, oh, we think we can get a better offer, blah, blah, blah. So they ended up they wanted to sell it for like over 500,000, whatever. So somebody offered him like 525. He said, that's fine, I don't care. And then guess what? The deal fell through. So then they come back to him, and this guy's one of those shrewd guys. He's like, I don't care. So the guy would come back and say, hey, you still got that 430 offer for me? He goes, no, it's 400 now. And they gave it to him, right? And that's the power of being an investor. You don't have to do anything, right? You're looking for a good deal. If somebody went and did it, I think somebody might be hovering outside the door out there. Awesome. So I love this stories. All right, so these are not financial advisors, but I'm curious, right? So I want to add the most value to people in the room, and I'm always looking for these kind of perspectives. What kind of questions I'm asking is to really get in your head, but like, what are the opportunities that you're seeing? All you guys do something a little bit different, but if you were to say, hey, I'm seeing something coming, right? So this mastermind group I'm part of, it's about anticipation. If you're going to be a great investor, you're going to anticipate what's next or what you see the opportunity being. So I'm curious, to give these folks just your opinion on something that you're seeing coming down or something that they should be focusing on.
For us, since we've been involved in flipping is trying to switch strategies and try to hold on, correct? We're trying to hold on. You got to try to hold on to what you can. Tom here, we were talking about a property again here. He says, no, hold it. What are you thinking? Because my mind immediately goes into, okay, we got to do this. We got to put in the market, not too much exposure. But right now, in these times with their shift, what do we see? Absolutely. There you go, patience. And what are the institutional investors doing? They're grabbing everything they can, and there's something there, right? Why are we doing the same? Why every opportunity that we look at it, instead of saying, let's get rid of it, is how can I keep it? How can I keep more? And then wait, because the shift is coming. We see it. So for me, that's the best one I see. And everybody in this room is looking at real estate, probably not like I started with nothing, but probably you've done some transactions. Now you have some extra cash, and you're looking to what to do. So that's what I would say. Look for that.
And look, you can make money in any kind of market, but you gotta know when things are shifting and changing, right? So he's seeing that we're coming up to a top of a cycle, and he's saying to himself, okay, you can get caught if you're looking for that quick flip return. Now he's saying, let me switch this to a hold the property, because if you do buy and hold properties over time, you can sell whenever you want, right? So even if the market goes down, but it's cash flowing, then you just hold it and you wait for the market to come back up. I'm a firm believer that Orlando's long-term trend is up.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
But there's always going to be this along the way, right? And that's what you're saying right there. Awesome. Des, what about you?
Is there anybody familiar with creative finance? And what I mean by that. So you need to start dusting off your creative finance skills, because we are now going into a point in the market to where maybe some people over leverage their house. Maybe they bought it for more than the market's kind of bearing. I mean, we all know those stories of people that are paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 above appraised value. I could never do that as an investor, but these people need a home, so I completely understand their situation. But if anything was to change in their situation, and it could be a very delicate situation, to where now let's say they're over leveraged on a property for more than what it's actually worth. So is anybody familiar with subject to? Yeah. So subject to transaction is basically the process of taking over somebody's mortgage, and without going too much into details, you're able to take somebody's mortgage without ever qualifying or assuming responsibility for that mortgage. That's one thing. Seller finance is another thing that you really brush up on. And something else to note in this market of where the rates are, the lending rates, low rates are an asset. So a lot of these people who refinance or have these low rates, maybe a property doesn't pencil with you going and getting a loan and having a 7, 8, whatever percent interest rate, but maybe you can assume theirs at 2 or 3%, and that property does now pencil because you're able to assume their mortgage. So things like assuming lending, subject to seller finance, LPOs, lease purchase options, those kind of things, you need to start brushing up on those things, because this new market is going to require some different tools that we may have not been used to previously.
Absolutely. So, and by the way, assuming a loan is taking over somebody's loan, seller financing, I think you're going to see a lot more opportunities as sellers get more desperate about, hey, when these properties are starting to sit a little bit longer, they're willing to maneuver with you. So maybe you're not able to get financing, but maybe they become your lender. The actual seller, if they own the property free and clear, they can lend you the money. That's how I just bought this recent property. The seller actually wanted to do seller financing, which was fantastic. Like, I didn't have to qualify for anything. We just gave them the money down that he wanted. They held the rest of the note, 5-year note, and gave us a 5%.
Yep.
Incredible.
With the rates and everything, the way that there are, that stuff is going to be more and more prevalent.
Right.
And if you aren't familiar with that, you need to learn.
You gotta buy a point now if you want to get financed. Like, it's getting crazy.
Yes, it's getting crazy with the rates. Learn how to manipulate those rates through seller financing, assuming mortgages are subject to transactions.
Awesome. Duhamel.
Yeah, man. So I love the Warren Buffett quote that says, "Be greedy when others are fearful." And during 2020 is where I made probably the best deals to date. We had a property in Clearwater, bought it for 500, sold it for 1.1, and like 14 months later. And I believe we're in that market now, but in secondary and tertiary markets, at least in my industry, in the multifamily space, I believe secondary and tertiary markets are still in the expansion phase of the cycle. You mentioned Orlando being towards the top, and that's exactly it. So we have an affordable housing.
Explain why secondary and tertiary markets.
Yeah. So a primary market is like where all the new construction is happening, where everybody's wanting to move to, everybody wants to be. Like right now, Orlando, we see all of our prices are going through the roof. That's a primary market, Miami, Tampa. A secondary market
Lake City.
is Lake City. Yeah.
Yeah, we were being nice with secondary.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
So secondary markets are maybe 30 minutes out, maybe an hour out of that primary market, and then tertiary markets are a little smaller population. But I'm bullish. Like Lake City, for example, I love that market. That's a market that we have cold callers that may or may not be in this room or in this table that are looking to help us get more deals in that market, because everybody's looking at this primary. All the big institutional guys looking at primary markets, and even some of you guys are looking at what the mainstream media is telling us. You know, we're at the top of the market. You know, interest rates are rising. People can't afford houses. But in reality, that's only applies to Class A primary markets. When you're looking at secondary, there's so much runway, I believe. Runway meaning if I buy, for example, at $70,000 per door, you know, in a complex at $70,000 per door, I know that because of inflation, rents are going up. So all my tenants, all my residents are paying rent, and I have to increase. I'm sorry, bro, but you know, the interest rates are going up, inflation's going up. I need to charge you more. So that's why some of you guys that live in apartments are seeing that, and that is the business. So I believe that primary markets are saturated, they're getting capped, but there's so much running room still left in secondary and tertiary. So if I'm looking into the crystal ball, that's where I'm putting all my money.
Yeah, and goes back to, you know, growth happens at the edges, right? So that's what it basically is talking about. It's like, here's the popular area, here's the second most popular area where the growth is going to come. And if you're willing to wait it out a little bit or hold it, buy out here, especially if you know that market and there's certain things about it. Out of curiosity, what is it about Lakes? I don't know anything about Lake City,
Yeah.
but is there anything about Lake City that is like, man, I really see something happen here?
Yeah, same as in like Valdosta, Georgia, which we're in, Albany, Georgia. These the institutional guys are not looking at those markets because they don't have these big check boxes. They're looking at population growth, wage growth. They're looking at these high level metrics. But in the market itself, there's high demand. So that 100 unit that we have in Lake City, we have 100 people on the waiting list. So you just look at the metrics. That's 100 people that are flocking this market. So there's demand. I'm following where is demand. Some of the metrics that we're seeing is people willing to drive from Tallahassee, willing to drive from Jacksonville, willing to drive from Gainesville. They're getting priced out of those primary markets and they're moving into secondary, tertiary markets.
Amazing, amazing. Guys, you got any questions for these guys? Anybody got any questions for these guys? Go ahead.
So with like the market kind of like shifting, right? Like you guys are saying, kind of getting more saturated and stuff like that. And also you guys touched on how wholesaling, there's just more access to it. Investing as a whole, Airbnb, it's kind of becoming more mainstream, you could say. For somebody that's trying to get into it new, obviously other than just swinging the bat on a deal, you know, what advice would you say to kind of get your foot in at this time? Or would you say maybe wait a little bit or, you know, try to get into one of those secondary markets?
I would say, don't wait, start. Because you're going to come into, you're going to run into opportunities, right? Don't let them pass because all this noise and everything that's happening and uncertainty. Because you find a deal, you run into an opportunity, there's going to be, you're going to have an exit strategy. It might not be 100,000 exit strategy, but it might be 10, 15. But you are in the game, you're taking action. One of the things I regret, you know, one of the things I'm guilty of is not starting too soon. I always go back to actually start earlier. Don't let all that noise, you know, drown your effort.
Let me ask you, I mean, what does investing look like to you? Because when people come to me all the time, they'll tell me, oh, I want to be an investor. Well, there's like 1,000 different ways to invest. So what does that actually mean to you? In order for me to give you like the best advice about what you can do moving forward, what does investing mean to you?
So, I mean, the two avenues that I would want to take would either be flipping or if the deal does make sense to hold on to it, you know, cash out of it like that.
Okay, so you're looking to get into flipping. So then you need to meet people like me, wholesalers. You just need to find every wholesaler in town that you can. There's a bunch of them. I promise you, just analyze deals. Just sit there and underwrite deals. You will find the right deal for you. As long as if you have everything else in place, and I'm making the assumption that you have, like lenders, cash, or whatever else in place, partners. If you have all that in place, you just need to start underwriting deals.
Yeah, that's great advice. And also, just keep underwriting, keep networking, because you find that deal that pencils out and you call my man Des.
Fantastic. Give these guys a hand. Yeah, good. Impressive. All right, you guys can stay up there if you want to.
Yeah, I want to hit on something real quick before we head out. On Monday, I lost a dear friend of mine. And it reinforced to me the why. So when you're going home and looking in the mirror and saying, why do I want to be an investor? I see this beautiful child here. I'm thinking I wanted to bring my kids, and my wife voted against it because it's bedtime. But that's the why. He mentioned his kids earlier. You need think about what your why is. That's the most important aspect of why you are here. And maybe that is the question to start with. Why are you here? And then look in the mirror and say, who do I need to be here for? And it's very important that we're not in here just to get rich, just to make dollars. We need to change lives. We need to change our lives and lives around us.
Absolutely, and I would challenge every one of you. You came here for a reason. You're gonna hold on that why, but don't leave this room today without talking to somebody. Take that first step. Each one of you is in a different stage. Some of you are advanced, some of you are in the middle, some of you are just starting or thinking about starting. But make a point, don't go, mingle a little, meet somebody, and get on the road, swing the bat.
So before we mingle, I'm going to present something for 5 minutes to you real quick. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Dominican Republic. So I've expanded internationally with my partner Deontay here and my partner Biagio Montiuti. Obviously, short-term rental investments, Airbnb properties are something that's super hot. But with prices going up, they become less hot, right? And we're looking to expand. We have expanded into Dominican Republic. You can go ahead and kind of play the video while I kind of explain the situation, but this is a place in Punta Cana. So just so you know, I'm originally from the Caribbean, I'm Puerto Rican, right? And there's something really special about the Caribbean. And I hadn't explored the Dominican Republic before, but last year, because Biagio Montiuti, one of my partners, has done 30 years of international sales, he's like, we gotta form a partnership with a developer and go to the Dominican Republic because it's just an incredible place. It's an incredible country. And you can kind of flip through this. You see that, me and Deontay are down there. That was last year. We just went in. But basically, we formed a company called Beach Home Investments, and for 2 reasons. Number one is to provide investors great investment opportunities, short-term rental opportunities, and second home opportunities, but also to bring it back to the agents to sell, right? Because we were like, hey, we want to bring more opportunities for agents to sell because there's so much high demand, especially in Orlando, for short-term rental properties, but there's just not enough out there. The returns aren't big enough. Go ahead, next one. So just so you know, Deontay already bought one. This is a place that Deontay actually bought last year. It's completing in 2024. And actually, Corinne, who's one of our agents too, bought here in a place called Oceana. So we're putting our money where our mouth is. We vetted everybody. We vetted the team down there. We have partners down there. This developer has been doing this for 18 years and delivering for 18 years. They're the most trusted developer. In particular, we're focusing mostly on Punta Cana, but we have some projects other places. Go ahead. So keep on. So just so you know a little bit about Dominican Republic. So I understood when I was brought this opportunity, I was like, look, I'm not going to sell anything I don't understand. I got to go down there and I got to go figure this out. And after talking to the developer, talking to everybody on the ground and learning about it, you just got to know something. Number one, it's 2.5 hours away. So it's super accessible and they have 460 flights coming in from internationally. So that's really big when you're talking about short-term rental investments because it's the #1 tourist destination in the Caribbean. All right. It's a stable government in a fast growing economy. So you're not talking about a place that's going to just like implode on itself, next year. And I think that's one of the fears is like, somebody's like, oh, buy this country. And you're like, I don't know anything about that country. Okay. So I already talked about #1, a tourist destination, easy access. And I have to put no hurricanes because I'm from Puerto Rico and everybody worries about the hurricanes, but the way that where Punta Cana is located, the hurricanes just don't hit like that there. It's a very, very special place. I think over the last 100 years, there's been maybe 14 that made landfall, 3 that infected this area, but barely. It's like literally like a breeze, right? And it's just the way this place is located. That's the statistic right there. So just so you know, we're gonna be, if you guys register to sell this product, we're doing a 5% commissions, by the way. So if you're an agent, 5% commissions, or you can use the 5% commissions in order to actually purchase it yourself, which is what Deontay did. They'll take it right off the price. So you're gonna get folders like this when you register that give you everything you need to pitch this to your investors. So you got somebody out there who's looking for short-term rental property. This is something that they're gonna wanna take a look at. The profitability is there. And what they're talking about is basically based on, in this particular example, 65% occupancy, and they're basically guaranteeing 6 to 7% net returns, and they're managing it for you. Okay, so this is mailbox money. It's not for everybody. There's other investments out there that pay more money. My thing is that this is on conservative numbers. I'm assuming that you can pretty much expect about 10% return, but you're buying in paradise. So what you're looking here is equity because it's all pre-construction. It's gonna be about a 2-year build, okay? By the time you close, you'll have equity in the property. You'll own something in paradise that is gonna start bringing you mailbox money at least 6 to 7% net returns or more. And if you're looking at retirement at some point, I was talking to Zetam about this. I'm gonna tell you right now, 5 to 10 years from now, you'll be like, I should have bought the yard because the secret's gonna be out, okay? So the projects that we're talking about, the ones that you're gonna see are gonna be in these 3 areas. Just so you know, they're gonna be completed December 2024. 5% commissions once again. The HOAs are $1.50 per square meter, which is actually pretty low. They do mean square meters there. So when you're looking at the sheets, just multiply it by 1.5 per square meter. And these particular 3 projects we're talking about are all furnished. So when you're talking about short-term rental investment, this is included in the price. It's already furnished. Okay, this is what the furniture looks like. Flip through this real quick. Let me show you how you pay for these. Okay, so this is not for, like, if you got a bunch of people, let's say you're selling this to investors and they're like, do they have financing, all that stuff, that probably means they don't have cash. This is for somebody who has some cash, right? You don't have to have all of it right now, but you have to have at least 20%. Okay, these are the payment plans. The most liberal one is this one in the bottom standard. You're gonna put 20% at contract signing, and then over the next 2 years, you're gonna do about 10% deposits over time. So picture like every quarter, you're gonna give them another 10%. So here's the deal. You're gonna have it dang near paid off by the time it's done. Okay. So by the time it's done in 2024, you give them the last 20%, you own it. If at that point in time, you guys want to get some financing, like you want to tell your investors, you can go ahead and get some financing. At that point, they can pull the money back out. But I would say if you're selling this to somebody, it's somebody who's gonna have at least the 20%. Okay. And by the way, you get paid as a realtor after the 20%. You don't have to wait. And that's why that's really important. The first 20% is huge. You're going to get your commissions and it's going to be done, right? And then it's the build time, and during the build time, you're going to be getting equity. This is a project called Atlantida. This is one of their biggest projects they've ever done. It's once again, Bobado Beach. We've been there. It's an incredible place. Just so you can see, there's a pool that surrounds the whole thing. The whole concept is the lost city of Atlantis. You can literally swim everywhere. The units on the bottom, you can actually swim like right outside your balcony, just walk into the pool. This is where it's going to be. This is the place where Deontay bought somewhere around up here. This is an incredible place, safe. I went everywhere. It's not one of those places that you like go one street and you go into a bad place. Like, it's safe, it feels good, and there's plenty of stuff to do.
We got lost and we checked it out.
We got lost. We climbed a fence one time. It was interesting. But the reality is that there's plenty of stuff to do, but the way they're building these, every single concept has their own stuff to do. This place is gonna have like 52 boutiques, restaurants, hotel. You don't have to leave the place. This is where it's at again. And this is what the place looked like. Literally, do you see those units on the first floor? You can just like walk right off your balcony into the pool. This is the beach club that's at the center of it. Just some other angles on that one. This is where they started. Okay, so just you can see how affordable. If you would have, every time these things go, by the way, these things sell out in 3 months, and it's already started. So they're selling like 15 a day. And so you can just know that time is of the essence. If you want to get all the advantages of the price increases, you want to get early. What happens? Whenever they release one of these, so that's why you want to get in the fold. Whenever you release, the cheapest ones in the penthouses go first. Okay, that's how it rolls. And then after that, it is just selling like hotcakes. And there's people if you're a realtor, people are making sick money selling this, okay? The other one is, they got going on right now is Harbor Bay. This is in the most prestigious place out there called Cap Cana. This place, like they won't let you in this place. Like you got to go through a gate. You better have a reason to be there. The biggest marina in the Caribbean is there. Yachts. This is bougie stuff, right? But even in this place that's right on the marina, you can buy for $500,000, right? And your HOA is like $270 a month. Once again, you buy there, you rent it out, you can use it whenever you want to. And it's not like here where you have to actually like call the company and be like, hey, I want it for this time in the summer. They don't matter. A hotel company rents this. If you say you want your unit, then they'll just rent another unit. Like, hey, I'm coming down this weekend. I need my unit. Done. They'll move them. Okay. This is where it is. This is Cap Cana. This is we were there in person a few weeks back. Legit. Like if you like bougie lifestyle, this is where you're gonna like, you're gonna golf, Jack Nicklaus golf courses, playing polo. You wanna learn how to play polo? Here it is. They have an equestrian center. This is like the top, right? And Harbor Bay is right there on the left, right next to where it says Fishing Lodge, Cap Cana. That's where Harbor Bay is. Okay, so it looks like another view. Those started at 415 to 1.09. Price is subject to change. Just get in the game, start talking to our partners down there, get your investors involved, and they don't have a ton left. They go very, very fast. This is the last one. This was my favorite. It's called the Reef. This is actually in Las Terrenas, which is on the north side of the island. This place is incredible. They actually built that around a natural spring, and it's a very ecologic type of development. It is on the beach, okay? So that's what it looks like. That's where it's at, the Reef. Once again, 5% commissions right on the water. And these, like I said, that's on the natural spring they built around. And like I said, they have everything there, like shopping area, private villa, beach club, everything. And that's where those started. Once again, subject to change. And so if you're an agent in this room and you're looking to offer another investment to your people, go to beachhomeinvestments.com/agent registration. You'll automatically get an email with all the folders that I kind of showed you earlier, plus a video that I did actually training you on how to speak about each project and the returns and everything like that, way more than the quick, couple minutes that I went through. I hope you guys enjoyed the Grid Orlando event. Give our panelists a hand once again. And please stay around, network with some folks. We got tons of sandwiches. You get any booze? You got booze? Come on. All right, guys. Take care.